Welcome to East Tennessee Pinball. Today I've got this Kool pinball machine. So I just stood this game up and broke into the cash box because it was locked. Drilled that out. I see what looks to be, yep, I got schematics in there, which is good because it's a Gottlieb and they're not online as a general rule. So the gal I got this from, she's middle-aged. She had this as a kid, and she's wanting to get it going again. I think maybe for her kids or whatever. Anyway, hadn't been played in a long time. See, a bunch of rubbers are missing, and just looks kind of old and tired. I don't think it boots up. I haven't plugged it in. The cord. Oh, it's just tied up. I thought it was cut, but it's not. Just tied up neatly. So that's looks like maybe the original cord. Anyway, check out a couple of these Jones plugs. Oh, they're pretty nasty. So I think on this game what I'm going to do, before I even put the head on there, I'm going to yank the playfield out and go through all the switches in the cabinet, and then I'm going to put the back box on. I'm gonna really just do it step by step and give myself easy access to the cabinet. So first thing I'm gonna do is get this playfield out of here, get the glass off, and dig in this thing. We'll see what it looks like inside. Okay, got the glass off out of there. The playfield has a little bit of wear, but not too awful bad. It looks pretty decent. Slightly recessed inserts, but not too bad. Looks like in pretty good shape. Pick this up. Oh, so that doesn't look right. I think maybe that's the wrong plunger because it sticks out way too far. Y'all see that? Sometimes when the spring is missing, it'll stick out too far, but it's got a spring. And even if that spring was broken a little bit, it's sticking out almost an inch. So I'm gonna have to put the phone down, I think. There I go. Oh, it's tight. Okay, look inside of here. It's kind of grimy. Wow, that looks pretty bent up. That doesn't look normal. See that stack of switches, how bent it is? Like, I don't know. That just doesn't look normal. And that stack there, oh, I guess it hits, I was gonna say it doesn't even hit the post, but it hit this one post closest to us. It's taller than the other three, so it's got one like master home switch, I guess. Let me get this prop right up. Actually, let's look under the playfield here. Oh, we got 4 flippers. That'll be fun. I rebuilt all those. It's got the little mini Gottlieb step unit, which are always a pain to go through. A bunch of playfield features there. Some kind of unit down there, the bonus unit. And another bank of switches down here. This is all the startup and coin up. That's funny they put them all in a bank like that. Anyway, I think I'm gonna just let me get it propped up real quick. So the flippers don't have a tremendous amount of play. Some, the bushings have more. I notice this bushing here, if you can see there, see that little clean spot where it's actually broken. So it's got a ton of play. Probably the flipper is probably dragging. Yep, sure enough, because that bushing's broken. Old crusty rubber. Well, I think what I'll do here to start with is I'm gonna yank this playfield out, get it out of the way. I'm gonna go through every switch in the bottom, which is not that many switches on this game, really, to be honest. And that won't take too awful long. These, I'm sure, assuming this switch flips over somewhere or another. Oh yeah, there's a wing nut and a wing nut, and that thing's gonna flip open so I can get to those switches. These are fairly easy to get to. The score motor, like those into the bottom there, they're a pain to get to. The ones in the bottom are always tough on these Gottliebs because they're kind of underneath that wheel. And that just does not look stock. I don't know what's going on there. I almost wonder if see how that one's in the middle? I'll bet that one was supposed to be half of them in the middle at one point, and that one's got half of them in the middle. See the brackets in the middle of it? And that one's all on one side. I bet that bracket was supposed to be in the middle when this game left the factory. Or maybe it was a Friday and they just screwed up and then somebody, but I bet it wasn't like that when it left the factory, but now it is. These all have nuts on the back side. Does this whole game? No, it doesn't. Like none of these have nuts on the back side. Some of these, a lot of these do. That one doesn't. All the rest of these have nuts on the back side. Just wondering if somebody had monkeyed with this. I'm thinking that just doesn't look right. I'm guessing that plate was probably in the middle there. We can see if it's... It's even now, that top switch there, it's just barely closing, even being all bent over. Anyway, it could be adjusted and work like that, or I may move it to the center, I don't know. Anyway, let me get the playfield out of here. I'm gonna go ahead and go through all these switches. So you yank this playfield out, there's actually only 2 Jones plugs that go down there, and that's it. And then this thing just yanks out. So this was pretty easy to remove. Okay, unbolted this one, and oh, I just dropped a piece. But anyway, it's split here, so I am gonna do it just like this, which is gonna center it. And I'll have to put this together with that on the other side. I'm gonna, well, y'all can see, but to put it with that post, I'm gonna do it with 2 hands, and I'll show you what I get to here in a second. That looks a lot better centered up. And now those two contacts, that one's normally closed, this one's normally open. They're opening and closing as these 3 posts go around. So, still gotta do the Jones plugs. Just a few here. I guess it's, yeah. I'll get, well, the one here for the door, it's probably pretty ratty. Not great. Yeah, pretty bad. And check all the fuses. But the fuses are not right, because they're never right. So this one, line amp, calls for a 5 amp slow blow. It was a 10 amp. This one there calls for a 1 amp. I have a hard time reading this, but that's not a 1 amp. That's like a 20 amp, I'd guess. At least 15, so, you know, that's no good. This next one is supposed to be a 10 amp. It looks like it might be a 10 amp. So the rest of them were good. A 10, a 10, a 15, they were good. That 1 amp was just like crazy, so I'm gonna grab a 1 amp for that. So I think I'm done with at least my first pass through the bottom here. I am going to put the head on and maybe go through it real quick. Okay, so I threw the head on there, cleaned the Jones plugs, put them in. I haven't cleaned these, just the ones that go in the back here. And I also got the playfield in there, cleaned the Jones plugs, the playfield Jones plugs. The Jones plugs for the playfield are cleaned. Haven't done anything else to the playfield. I got the game plugged in, so really the only thing I've gone through is the cabinet down here. So I'm gonna boot it up, or try to. Well, okay. I just turned it on, it went to the home position. I'm gonna hit the credit button, see what happens. Something locked on. Yeah. I think that's probably a score reel. Let me lower the playfield and we'll see. I just turned it on. Now it's like going through some sequences, trying to reboot. So it's just going through. This is a common problem when you got one that doesn't want to boot. It gets hung up in this situation. Something is not resetting it. So let me turn it off. So when it's like this, it's started the boot sequence and it's got to reset a bunch of things to get up to go to the next step. So one thing, it's got to get the score reels to 0. I see that one of them is not a 0. It could be that. It could be the bonus unit. The bonus unit's got to get down to 0. So it's somewhere in the sequence. It's got hung up and it can't get through it. And like on these score reels, it's got one thing to move it to 0, and it's got another switch that lets it know that it's at 0. So which is kind of weird, but that's the way they are, in kind of the same way on the bonus unit. So a lot of times it knows it's not at 0 in the sense that it can't move on, but it does, and this part of it that moves it, that part doesn't know it's not at 0. So it's kind of weird, but that's the way it is. So I'm not gonna try to diagnose this yet because I've still got to go through all the units on the playfield. I got to go through all the playfield stuff and all these relays back here. And I'm liable to fix this just by adjusting all the switches and cleaning things like I did in the bottom of the cabinet. All the switches in the back here, went through the player unit up here, and they got this little match unit. And I hate these little micro Gottlieb units. They're a pain. They're always problematic. Like this one, it's just kind of, if you flip it hard, sometimes it works, but sometimes it doesn't. So, you know, I showed this on the last video, I think. Basically take this plate off, take that little spider here off. It's only 2 legs of a spider, and clean that surface, lubricate it, put it back together, and then do the same thing for the other side. It's not super hard, it's just kind of tedious. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that while I'm back here and just get her done. So got that all cleaned up on both sides. Let's see if it's a lot better. All right, so we'll go into the playfield and see what lies underneath there. Well, this bonus unit is nasty. There's grease all over it. It's filthy. Actually moves. There's never any reason to put grease on these cogs. It's not a friction part. I mean, on some games you may grease the shaft. On this one, looks like it's got a nylon bushing that the shaft goes through. So you got metal and nylon. So you don't need, this one doesn't need any grease except for a little bit of PBR grease on these little rivets that the little horseshoe feet slide on. But that's it. I'm gonna try to clean off as much as that old nasty grease on there as I can. And it's quite possible the reason why this thing wasn't booting, this unit here, or the score reels. All right, so I went through all the switches under the playfield. Oh, I didn't do that the little small bonus unit under the playfield. I haven't done that, but I'm gonna go ahead and try it anyway. Okay, it stopped. Let's see if it'll boot up. I got one reel. Okay, so I reset that. It tried to kick it out, I think. I thought I heard it kick, but it didn't kick it all the way out. So I think we're in a game. Yes. Well, it's kind of trying to work. I don't think that's hooked up. No, that little wire there is loose. Oh, and that's probably that little small micro bonus unit. So it's working right now. I'm gonna clean it either way, but that's what happens when it's dirty. Well, either that or all half bulbs were burnt out, or they were like runs across there and it's not making good contact. So you never know. So it's best to just go ahead and clean it. These switches, I don't know what these are supposed to do. I know they're supposed to make noise and give you points. So we spelled king twice. I guess you can do either one. that probably does something else. We got 10,000. We got a bonus multiplier. I have no idea the rules on this game. Opens gate when lit. You know, I guess I gotta read the rules, figure it out. But anyway, we're up and playing, and we weren't before. And I really didn't do any diagnosing at all. I just went through and did the basic maintenance. I say maintenance. It's more than maintenance. Basically, adjusting every switch in the game, cleaning the Jones plugs, and cleaning the units. Short of this one here, I still got to do that. And it's up and booted. There's probably some features that are not working. Probably some of these lights. I haven't done anything with the bulbs, so probably half the bulbs are burnt out, and some of the other ones are not working because the switch isn't making contact. But anyway, it's a good start. I'm going to strip this game down and clean it, put all new pop bumpers. I don't know if plastics are available for this game. These are not bad. They're pretty yellow, but they kind of match the playfield, so I don't know. Those are all, I don't know. They made these like super white ones for a while, but they look like they almost look like they've been spray painted. And maybe, I don't know. I hate the look of those. Anyway, I'm going to put new posts in it. Might even put red posts in here. I don't know. I'll think about that. Jane says, ooh. Yeah. The white rubber on the white post, I mean, it's okay. It's traditional, but sometimes it gets a little blah, blah. So I don't know. But I don't know what I'm going to do next time. I might go ahead and read. The gal wants to keep this incandescent bulbs, which is cool. Looks like we don't have, maybe not any bulbs in the back box. Maybe we blew a fuse. Most of these games will have one fuse for all the lights in the back box. I don't see any lights going on back there, so that could be an issue. Anyway, I think I'll stop here for at least for lunchtime. I'm getting hungry, and it's about lunchtime, so I'll stop here for a little bit. So I changed all the bulbs in the back. I didn't figure they're all burned out, and they weren't. So I've got all new bulbs. There's still none of them are working. So I just pulled the schematics here. And so the top part of this are the lights in the play field, and from about here down are the lights in the back box. And so they've got the same, this line here goes all the way down to the transformer. So that's the common for the lights. And then there's basically got a 5 volts and a 6 volts. Huh, that's kind of, well, that is kind of weird. 5 volts, 6 volts. I guess they were using lower voltage for the back box so it doesn't get as hot, maybe. Kind of an early attempt to not burn up the glass, maybe. I don't know. So anyway, this middle one, this one here, we follow it. Wait, did I skip over? I skipped over. That goes to the 1 amp fuse, which is, oh, that's just the coin chute lights. Okay, I'm not too worried about that. I don't even have light, there's not any light bulbs on there, so forget that one. It's this outer one. So the coin chute lights have 5 volts. Keep them cool. The 6 volts, that's runs everything. It runs all the lights. So it goes up here. And then there's a 10 amp fuse and another 10 amp fuse. And this outer one goes to the playfield, and this one goes to the back box. So I believe all those fuses are located right there. And I pulled them out and checked them to see if they were the right size, but I did not actually measure continuity. They weren't obviously broken, but anyway, I'm gonna start there and pull out that fuse and see if I've got continuity and or voltage across them. So it turns out it was just the fuse holder was a little bit loose, and a lot of times these old ones, they get splayed, so and you have to replace them. These were good. I just squeezed it up a little bit, and it was just a little loose. So We got all our lights in the back box. I put in 47s. I got one bulb out there. That's a bad socket. I have to do something about that. I don't know about those. That might be a feature. I don't think so, but I don't know. Let me get this door shut. They look just like GI lights to me. Maybe not. So you have to look at the colors and see what's... All the rest of these are just two braided wires. So, and that one's got... Maybe that is a feature light. I don't know. I guess I can look at the schematics real quick. So they are a feature. The flashing name lights, that would be those four, and they are operated with the QB. And that's it's like a make or break. So they turn on and off maybe? I don't know. Let's see what QB is. Oh, game over relay. So they're only on when the game's over, maybe? So right now we're in play. Let me turn it off and turn it back on again. And now they're on. That's kind of different. Huh. I wouldn't have figured that. Strange. So I was putting together a parts list, mostly plastics for the playfield. I decided to go ahead and take apart the flippers and see what the situation was with them. And these coil stops, some of them, that one's not too awful bad. This one's just awful. The inside's totally recessed. So I'm gonna get new coil stops. Likewise, the plungers are, it's hard to see, but they're, with my thumb, I can feel they're recessed. Getting these, some of them have the original metal sleeves like this one, and it's worn in two almost. So this one's gonna be very difficult to get out. The other three, two of them I had to beat out. One of them came out easily. This one, even I still got this little tool, fits in there like that, and you beat it out, but because it's already got a rip in it or a wear spot, it may just collapse. But I'm gonna try to get it out of there. If not, I may have to get a new flipper coil. I got it out just barely. It started to bend. Tried to just beat on this one side. I mean, put the pressure on there with that tool. Anyway, it came out. So I am also gonna go ahead and put in my new sleeves now before I place my order, because sometimes these things are they get a little tight over the years of getting too hot, and sometimes it can be difficult getting the new sleeves in, and these, at least 3 of these are going to be fairly difficult. I'm going to go ahead and clean them out first, some alcohol, and probably have them wet with alcohol when I slide in the new plastic sleeves. Those went in pretty well. One of them, wow, that's the wrong size sleeve. I got them all from the same bin, but that's the wrong one. I'll take that one back out. Yeah, anyway, that one was a little bit of bear. I had to beat that one in using the tool, just a lot of little baby taps so as not to beat up the rip. And that's the wrong sleeve, but this one went in pretty easy, so I think it'll come off pretty easy. So I was in the process of putting in new bulbs and all here. And it's real common for the bases of these things to twist, and you have flaky bulbs. And the solution is basically to solder right between that can and the little tab that it's pressed onto. So you just scuff it up with a file so you get some fresh metal, and just put a little dab of solder on there. Well, let me show you what somebody's done here. They've done that. I'm pretty sure that's what they were trying to accomplish, keep that from spinning, because it is very loose. But they've got that piece of metal around there. So, and they've got a piece, it's copper metal, so even if it's not making good contact with the base down there, it's making contact, it's just lashed. So that is the 6 volts going through that copper wire that's holding it on there. So kind of an inventive way to do it. A lot of trouble, but if you don't have access to a soldering iron or something and you got a little piece of copper laying around, you know, I guess it works. So here's an example of soldering all these bases, and I went through and just soldered all these because they were all kind of spinning, and you know, just lay the iron up right up there, and then try to drop the solder on the upside so it rolls along the back edge. So if it'd be on the right side of my finger, and it gets in that little crevice between my iron and the base and that little cup and the base there, and just run down and do every one of them real quick. And you know, you can do that whole thing in just a few minutes. I did the same thing. There's a similar feature for these bonus lights. They were all flaky. Most of the other lights, the individual ones, they were okay. It's the ones that were pressed in to these big long plates. I guess they're specialized features, and maybe they're made specially for this game. They were particularly bad about just spinning. So I think I've got most of the things working on here. I believe I'm at a point now where I want to go ahead and do the cosmetics before I go any further. I mean, I think just because it's going to be easier to see what's working and what's not working once I get all the lights going. And I also just want to figure out, I need to just figure out exactly what I'm going to do with this game, because I'm not exactly sure at this point. Probably going to put new caps, pop caps on here. These are, well, somebody has scrubbed all the ink off the pop caps here. You know, I think I'm gonna get new stand-up targets here. The plastics are not available, at least not from Steve anyway. New posts. Thinking about maybe colored rubbers for this game. Kind of toying with the idea. Anyway, it looks like it looks like a reproduction back skirt for this game, because it's perfect. And usually these things are kind of sorry shape. So anyway, keep moving on. I'm back at this Kool. This is part 2 of this video. The first video I went through kind of mechanics of it. This one's going to be more of the cosmetics, and once I get all that done, then there'll probably be a couple little minor things that got to be fixed. But anyway, I just took off the front 2 legs. They are soaking in a vertical pipe of evaporust. Getting ready to take off this plunger. It's pretty sorry looking. It's also the wrong plunger. It sticks out about that much too far. But to get this off, you see it's been played a long time without a rubber, and it's mushroomed out there. So I've got my Dremel here. I'm going to grind this sucker off the edge so that I can yank it out of here. I mean, I'm going to take the whole housing off anyway, but ultimately I'm going to probably need this housing and put a new rod in it. So just going to grind. I'm going to use 2 hands, and nobody's going to want to listen to this anyway, so I'm going to pause y'all for a moment. So I got this thing taken apart, and I knew something was wrong about it. And so it's had a cotter pin in there. I don't think I've ever seen a shooter rod with a cotter pin. So I don't think this is a stock rod. Maybe the end of this is busted off. I'm thinking this broke maybe, and somebody just made one out of I must have had a piece of rod. Anyway, that would explain why it was too long, because this is not a stock shooter rod. Yeah, that whole handle's all pretty beat up. So I'm gonna put a new one in there, or a old one probably, but it'll be nice looking. Pulled out my collection of shooter rods. This is one that just came out, and it is the same length as all the others. So that's not an exceptionally long one. It is still strange that cotter pin's there, and the cotter pin's too far from the end also. So if you look at all these, and they're all very near the end. So this one is the exact same unit as the one that's in the game. It's identical, and it also is shorter than all the rest. So I think what happened, somebody has swapped this rod out, and maybe this is a rod from a different game, or I don't know. It doesn't have a little ring on it for an E-clip. So In any case, I think I'll probably go ahead and use this one here, because it's a lot better looking than that one there. It does have, it looks like some epoxy or something on there. Hopefully that'll come off. I don't know. But in any case, I'm gonna take that off and get it out of there, and I may throw that in the evaporust and see if I can salvage that a little bit, or polish this one to see which one comes out better. The one that came out of there, pretty grimy. So I will douse that in the ultrasonic for, I think I'll do a full run. See what 10 minutes will do in this sucker. See what this stuff looks like. It's about 10 minutes later. It looks a lot better. So we'll see what I can do with that on the polishing wheel. That looks all right. Looks a lot better. I'll get some alcohol and clean that up with the Q-tip a little bit more. That's the old and the new spring. Well, they're both old. One from the current game, one from the other one. I'll take this real quick and see what I can do with this. This isn't so far gone. I think I could probably get this pretty polished up with a little fine rosin and see what I'll get. We'll see here in a few minutes. This isn't so far gone. I think I could probably get this pretty polished up with a little fine rosin and see what I'll get. We'll see here in a few minutes. It's looking a lot better. I'm gonna throw it in the ultrasonic. I think there's a little bit of rosin I'm having a hard time wiping off. So anyway, I think that turned out pretty good. So all that other stuff was cooking in the ultrasonic. I've been shining up some of these other parts, and yeah, it's all turning out pretty decent. That's the I guess the shooter lane support. Anyway, I'm not really ready to reassemble this because Jane's got to do some touch-ups to the playfield, and she's not here right now, so I'm gonna save this for tomorrow. Let her do the she'll have to do the touch-ups on one day. She'll touch it up with some water-based colors, let that dry overnight, and come back and put some Varathane on top of that on just the touch-up spots. I guess if I wanted to, I could probably put these targets in here, but I don't know. I think I won't. I think I'll save that for later. So this game's gonna get all new posts. I'm considering putting on some colored rubbers on this game. Thinking maybe kind of a pastel blue, because there's a lot of pastel blues on this game. I may just do that. I was gonna do that the other day, and I didn't have a list of rubbers. If I'm gonna order them, I need to know what they are. And I think I've got the manual. I do. I bet this has a list of rubbers. Let's see. List of coils. List rubber rings. There they are. And they're just the way Steve likes them, because he uses those same numbers. So, although I won't be buying these from Steve, so that I'll have to actually look up those numbers on his website to see what size those are, because those are the Gottlieb numbers. Those all corresponds to, like, those 18. That's going to be the 5/16, and they're probably in order of size, so small to big. So, like, yeah, I don't know if those numbers don't mean anything to me. They're just in order of small to big. So I'll have to look them up. Anyway, I'm going to probably maybe order some Titan rings for this one, baby blue, but those numbers will correspond to different links. This came out looking pretty good. By the way, so when you put the little sleeve in there, it's not actually perpendicular. It kind of like points up a little bit in one direction, and you want it pointing up, not pointing down. So you want it to point up the playfield. So when it goes in, it goes like this, not like that. You can really tell it points up when you do it like that. So it goes in like that. And so I'm gonna bolt this all back together, and we'll have a nice functioning shooter rod. Okay, so that shooter rod assembly looks pretty dang good now. Nice and bouncy. It looks so good, it makes the cabinet look like total dog shit. So I don't know. I may sick Jane on that. I don't know what we're gonna do about it. This door looking pretty shabby too. maybe able to get the steel wool and the stainless steel polish in the cans, what I'm talking about. I've got some over here somewhere. This stuff. Stainless steel cleaner and polish. Oil-based. It's definitely oil-based. Yeah, don't spray that on your glass because it looks like the same can that they sell for the glass cleaner, which I don't really like that very much. But anyway, just don't do what I did. What to do next? I think I'm gonna just stop for the day and let Jane get to clean that playfield and start putting that together. I may scrub a little bit on this front door, see if that's gonna work, how well it's gonna work. Well, this door is gonna clean up just fine. I just done kind of this left side, and I haven't scrubbed real hard, but you could definitely see where my demarcation line right there. This side's kind of clean, and this side's filthy. I even scrubbed that hinge a little bit. It needs a little bit more, but it's already way better. There's some little wires. That's one thing that happens. The steel wool, if you got sharp edges, you'll get stuff. You got to come back with the needle nose and pull them out. But it's hard to get in little places like that. You almost got to get a screwdriver or something to jam it up in there. But works pretty good. Here's all the filth that came off. That's just after you spray it down with this stuff, and I sprayed my rag a little bit too, so it's good and wet, and you can tell you're making progress because it starts off so rough, and by the time you're getting close, it starts getting smooth because you're knocking off all those rough edges of the rust in there. And I should have filmed it before I wiped it off. It's brown, just brown, muddy looking liquid from all the rust that's coming off of it. So I don't know what's in here, but it works real well. Maybe you could use this WD-40 or something, any kind of oil, but because it's kind of just oily, it smells good. So I just put together an order for all this stuff. I didn't order the flipper rubbers because I got plenty of those. But I got all this stuff in light blue, ordered from Titan. I like Titan pretty well, and they're good business. The only thing, and this isn't really Titan's problem, it's just a problem ordering a kit of rings, is from anybody for that matter, is they don't always fit. These sizes here are for using rubber rings, and I use silicone rings. So if it's from Titan, or I get most of my rings from Pinball Life, but I usually order big kits, and I order all the rings from Pinball Life in a certain color. I always have white, clear, and black. I have all of them. And so if you're using actual rubber rings, they are very elastic, like rubber bands. So if it's slightly off, it'll fit, you know. With silicone ones, they are not as elastic, and so you have to have the right size. And so like here it says, like that's a 2. It might actually need a 1 3/4, or it might need a 2 1/4. So if you look on my list, I've got a 1 3/4. Oh, and I've got a 2, and I got a 2 1/4. So I fill in the gaps because I don't want to have to order it again, because I don't keep in stock light blue because I don't use it very often. So this is why I don't like doing these kits, is because Titan pinball rubbers are expensive to start with. I mean, you see this is going to be $40 for a pinball that doesn't have a whole lot of rubbers on it. I did add a few extra ones because I've been down the road, and if you're one short, then you got to pay another $5 or $8 of shipping to do it again. So this is $42, and it'll be $50 of shipping by the time I'm done, just for the rings. And that's, if I was ringing this with say white rubbers, I've got all of them, my cost would be, I don't know, 10 or 15 bucks, something like that. It'd be a lot less, and I've already got them, so I don't have to spend the time doing this. So, if you're dinking around doing this for fun, it's fine. And I used to do this all the time when I was dinking around doing it for fun, but it's still fun, but I'm not dinking around anymore, so I don't do this real often. But on this game, for whatever reason, I just really think the light blue would work on it. So I'll go ahead and do it against my better judgment. Better economic judgment. It's definitely, I think it'll look nice. I will say one more thing I don't like about the Titan rubbers. I like the Pinball Life ones, but these are like the colored ones. If you like the 5/16, if you're putting them on a post, if they're almost like too hard, And if you bend them a little too far, you get a little white spot on them. I've seen that on a lot of their rubbers I've used. So you gotta be careful when you put them on. You almost need to lubricate things, like wet the posts before you put them on so they'll slide on. If you try to roll them over, sometimes, especially like the orange ones, I've seen that happen a lot. So I don't know about the baby blues. Maybe they're a little bit more elastic than, or maybe it was just a bad batch I had. But anyway, I buy a lot of stuff. In fact, I'm gonna put a bunch of hardware in my kit, just because it's a real convenient place to order hardware. They've got a nice selection here of stuff that's, you can buy this stuff everywhere for cheaper, but it's like right here, okay, 22 cents. That's a crazy price for that screw. But if I buy, 10 or 20 of them, it's $2 or $3, and it's done. And I don't need a whole lot of these because most of the games they've already got them, but there's always there's a couple short on every game. So I do consume a few. So if I'm using 3 or 4 a game, I'm putting another $1 if I'm paying these kind of crazy retail prices. But I'm gonna get the exact one I need. I don't have to go shopping for it and digging through Home Depot or Lowe's. And actually, the price of hardware at Home Depot and Lowe's has gone kind of crazy too. So they've got a pretty good selection of a lot of the common hardware you're going to need on a pinball machine. They don't have the posts with the little screws on the top, or the bolts that have another double male end. So they don't have any of that hardware here. So this is just like regular hardware, but it's all pinball centric. So it's a good place to get pinball centric hardware, and they've got pictures of all of it too, which makes it easy to kind of see what you're getting. One more thing, if you're ordering from Titan, use the coupon code Titan10. It gives you 10% off. They've had that since they started business, I think, and they still honor it. So I just used it, and your coupon's been applied, so don't forget that one. Just placed my order. The Titan 10 coupon, it is now, really should be called the Titan 5 because it's a 5%, even though the Titan 10 still works. So it's better than nothing.